Hello everyone on the internet. I want to do a video about the Mandela Effect today. I haven't done many talking videos for a while. I really struggle with these. It's so much easier to just dance. But I want to do this because I think it's important. I think that this logo here, the old Fruit of the Loom logo, old, is the closest thing that we have to proof of this phenomenon, at least as close as proof can get, because you can't prove or disprove memories. False memories are definitely a thing, but I don't think that I'm remembering this little weird basket on this logo as a false memory. Now the logo is just the fruit with no basket behind it. And I've talked to quite a few people about this. I'm going to say probably around 50 or so people, a fair amount of people. And everybody that I've talked to either remembers that, yeah, I used to have this basket, or they don't remember at all. I haven't come across a single person that's like, nope, it's just the fruit. It's always been just the fruit. That's how I remember it in the 90s and the 80s. That's how I remember it. For me, I remember it changed. I assume they just changed the logo at some point in the earlier mid-90s, which I think is weird because my wife clearly remembers that it still had this basket thing in the mid-90s. And, I was talking with people in the comments section about this, and why it's so powerful for me is because I have a clear memory of asking my mom when I was about 4 or 5 years old, Mom, what's that weird basket thing on the tag of my underwear? And she told me it's a cornucopia. So I think it's very bizarre to have a false memory of learning a word. I don't see how I could possibly misconstrue that in my head. It makes sense to me that maybe people are getting like the Monopoly guy's monocle confused with the Planters peanut guy monocle. I could see how that could happen. I don't think that's what's going on, but it makes sense to me. There's a lot of evidence that there's something weird going on with the Fruit of the Loom logo. A lot of people have really done their homework on this. I have not. The channel Need Input did some fantastic videos on this. He actually went to the trademark registry website and found out that according to that website, which is like an official government website or whatever, it's always been just the fruit. But in the description, they describe the elements of their logo as including a cornucopia or horn of plenty, which is just bizarre. So, for me, especially with this Mandela effect, false memory is just not an option. I've definitely had false memories. There have been things that like, no, I remember that, and when I look back into it, it's like, oh, I remembered it wrong. So false memory is definitely a thing, but I don't think it explains all the Mandela effects. So if it's not false memory, what is going on here? A lot of people think that it's Cern. They think when Cern does their particle collision experiments that the different subatomic particles, like, they zoom out, they go to parallel realities or whatever, and as that happens, those particles like zoom through your skull and you pick up a memory of an alternate reality and it replaces the real one. That seems plausible to me, but I don't think that that's what's going on with the Mandela Effect, because if that were what's going on, I think we would see a lot more chaos. I think that pilots would be crashing planes and stuff because they're remembering airports being in the wrong place, stuff like that. And that doesn't seem to be happening. So, what's going on here? I think that the movie that's come out recently, yesterday, starring, I don't know, some guy. Anyway, it's about a movie about a musician in England, and he gets into a bike accident. And when this happens, like, the electricity goes out all around the world, and he wakes up in the hospital, and the band, the Beatles, has never existed. So he starts recording the Beatles songs that he remembers and becomes a wildly successful musician. And I think that something like that may be going on. I think that rather than Cern or false memory, we don't really understand reality. I think there are infinite realities, and what we experience as time and movement are illusions. I think that the multiple realities are almost like pages of a book or like frames of a movie. And each moment we go through billions of these. And I think it has to do with the Planck distance. Like, in theory, if you cut something in half, cut something in half, cut something in half, you should be able to do that infinitely. Like, as small, it just gets smaller and smaller. But it turns out that there's a limit. You can only cut something in half so many times before it's so small that you can't cut it anymore. And to me, that suggests almost like a pixel. And I think that that would seem like we're in some sort of simulated reality. And I don't think that's entirely correct either. I think it's more like some kind of collective dream. I don't know. That's for somebody way better at physics and math than me. So, the other possible explanation that I've heard for the Mandela Effect is that it's some kind of psyop. It's the Masons or the Illuminati, and they're trying to get everybody confused for some reason, and this is part of their ultimate plan, which really doesn't make sense to me. And furthermore, I don't think it's possible. Even if they are a super powerful secret society, there's no possible way that they could go through and round up all the articles of clothing from the 80s that had this little basket on the tag. And if you're somebody who thinks, no, they're doing that, by all means, please go out and find a hoarder, find some Fruit of the Loom t-shirts from the 80s that still have this cornucopia. If you do, you have my blessing. There's some kind of bizarre Masonic psyop, and they're trying to confuse us all. So, I think this is as close to proof as it gets. If you're watching this and you're like, no, I definitely remember in the 80s it was just the fruit, I would be very interested to hear your story, because so far nobody that I've talked to about it remembers that way. And I think what's going on here is that both time and movement are illusions. We're shifting through infinite parallel realities at Planck distances, almost like billions of frames per second. And it's all being directed by consciousness. And I think the Mandela effects are similar to the movie Yesterday. Like, I've had a few bizarre experiences. Like, I remember there was a time that I fell off the top of a car, and it was bizarre. I just, bounced off the pavement and wasn't hurt at all. And by all rights, I should have got a serious head injury, if not been killed. And I wasn't. And it makes me think that maybe I did get a serious head injury, but my consciousness would not accept this and somehow shifted to a totally different reality, a different frame where that didn't happen. And quite possibly somewhere out there, I'm a quadriplegic in bed or 6 feet under, and the tags on people's t-shirts still have this basket. I think that's what's going on here, which is bizarre and convoluted. So, yeah, if you're a Mandela Effect denier, you think it's just false memory, and you remember this little tag on your underwear or t-shirts, somebody out there should be able to find it if it was a psyop. And I simply cannot accept false memory as an explanation. So if you're interested in this, go check out Need Input's channel. I'm going to leave a link to his video that he did about it because it's excellent and it's very compelling. There are lots of really great videos on this, and I think the Mandela Effect community really needs to latch on to this one in particular, because if we're just remembering it wrong, or there's a psyop, we should be able to prove that. So, yeah. I'm going to leave some links to some videos. Go check it out. It's very compelling. And if you're like, no, companies change logos, whatever, they can. That's their right. I totally agree, and that's what I thought it was. And that's what I would still think it was if I didn't get on the internet and see other people's videos and have my mind blown of like, wait, other people remember this? Wait, lots of other people remember this? That's I don't understand how false memory can be so similar among so many different people. So yeah, go check out Need Input, and if you're of the mindset that it's some kind of Masonic psyop, I mean, we should be able to find a hoarder somewhere that has some underwear from the 80s that still have this on the logo. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Reality is weird, and catch you later.